It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what is, for now, a beautiful Thursday in Nashville. The problem is, may not last. By about 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight, get ready because the bad stuff may be moving in. They're talking about some severe weather. If you're wondering what the deal is, this is the backdrop we used yesterday. Let me see if I can... If you want to know where part of the Predator is, there we go. Okay? So today we go black backdrop. If you have not watched the show we did yesterday with legendary Alabama play-by-play voice Eli Gold and former Titans head coach Jeff Fisher, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's really good stuff. And in that hour and a half, toward the end, Jeff Fisher broke a little scoop.
Unloaded a little bomb.
He sure did, about Steve McNair.
Which eventually may or may not be true. We'll see.
We'll find out. I would assume if Jeff said it,
hopefully
that
it is.
Yeah. Check it out, though. I'm just going to tease it for now, and then we'll move on. Speaking of moving on, we go to Murfreesboro. We say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. How you doing?
Good. I'm being given instructions to move to the middle of the screen. Personally, I think
just
the show would
or
be
just
better.
moving off the screen.
You want to go? That's better.
Move off.
Yeah.
Move off the screen, George. It'd be okay.
That's a lot better. Did you miss us yesterday?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I appreciate you're not lying, even though your answer is pathetic. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. That's one thing about me. I'm not.
No,
I'm not going to lie. I'm sure y'all didn't miss me either, though.
To be honest, no, we didn't.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Nobody cares.
Billy, how are you?
I'm good.
You did a wonderful job yesterday orchestrating, a live audience and trying to do all of the sound without there being feedback. It's hard, and you did a really good job with that.
Yeah, how about
Be
that?
careful,
Kel?
George. Yeah, be careful, George, because he's going to be asking for a raise if you keep on.
No. I can tell you right now, the vault is closed. I'm not saying permanently, but for the next 90 days, not a chance in the world.
How was everything yesterday? Good?
It was great. First of all, both of them are exceptional storytellers.
Yeah.
I love people that can talk stories in sports. I want to think that's something I can do fairly well. Those two are terrific at it. We got into things like, a lengthy segment on Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Got into whether, let me say this right, 26 years ago Tuesday, Nashville got hit with two huge tornadoes. And one of them missed the under construction Titan Stadium by about 2 blocks. It went more toward Channel 5. And I asked Jeff Fisher, I said, if that thing had hit the stadium and basically all that construction went haywire, would the Oilers have ever come here? He seemed to think so. I seem to think not. However, he's got a little more cachet with his answer than I do.
Yeah.
I seem to think he was probably right. I think they would still come. I don't know why you think that, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? And luckily it didn't happen because we still got the Titans, so we're good.
Okay, I'll tell you why I think that. Because the Oilers were about to play a year at Vandy. And to be honest, by the end, there was a very contentious relationship, which I blame a lot of that on former Vandy athletic director Todd Turner. They left that stadium in shambles the day after Christmas when they played the Vikings. There was ice all over the place. You know, I tried to tell Turner, look, you know, this is an NFL franchise, and you would do best to make friends with them instead of trying to play enemy. And he really didn't listen to me. So by the time the year was over, the two sides were kind of like this. Now, they'll all deny this. They can deny it until hell freezes over. I know what it was like. And so I don't really, you know, it's not like they'd have been able to go back to Memphis. You know, Memphis really did not take to the Oilers.
They didn't want to go back to Memphis.
No, I don't know where they would have gone if the football stadium that's now there that was under construction had gotten, you know, blown away in a tornado. I do think, Kelly, that I might be right on this. But then again, when have I ever said I was wrong?
And then again, it doesn't matter because they're here, so we're good.
Exactly. But for people who haven't seen the show, check it out. It's an hour and a half of great stuff.
Yeah, Jeff did say that was a very George Plaster question. He threw that out there.
Did he?
Yeah,
he did.
Nice.
But Jeff was good. Eli was good. They both have their own avenues. You know, Eli's been in NASCAR in Alabama, of course, for a while, and Jeff has also been in the broadcast booth, which we talked about. He did a game
led to a trivia question.
Yeah.
So you want
while y'all were doing that, I was getting stories told to me by Coach Donnelly. Myself and Coach Donnelly went out to eat yesterday, and you talking about a storyteller.
Oh my God!
You had two. Coach Donnelly was telling story after story. I could have listened all day. He was making me laugh. I hit the table one time, and the people were right next to me, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, "Golly, man, that was a little loud."
You want a good Jeff Fisher story?
Tell us.
So back when I was doing Titans preseason games on television, this is back when they first came to town, I was the color announcer, which was a complete joke. I'd look over at the Bears booth. There's Mike Ditka, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? But Jeff was nice enough before each game to let us, you know, ask some questions. Do you have any trick plays? And so there's this free agent quarterback that early on nobody's paying any attention to, but with each passing week, I keep saying, what about Billy Volek? You know, and by the third week, it's becoming obvious Billy Volek is going to make this team. Yeah. So the fourth week, we're in Chicago to play the Bears on a Friday night at Soldier Field. So around 10 o'clock, we have this meeting with Jeff. And he looks at me, any questions? Nope. He kind of looks around, he goes, no Billy Volek questions? Nope. He starts thinking, he goes, you're going to Wrigley, aren't you? And I said, the quicker you end this, the quicker I get there.
That's funny.
That was a great day to get to go to a Cubs game at Wrigley and then go do a game at Soldier Field.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Now, Soldier Field, like it used to be and like it is now, is totally different.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved it back in. Yeah, it looks like a spaceship, man. It was so cool. They got like when they drive the players under the tunnel, they've still got part of the old stadium in there, but like it's totally different than what it used to be. It was so traditional. It was so, back in time. That was a really cool place. But now it's like you're right. It's like
Spaceship.
something of, like a spaceship from not this world.
Billy, parking in and around that area was not great.
It's
And I
tough.
remember parking, at the planetarium. Okay, at 10:30 that night, after the game's over, I'm getting back to my car. And to be honest, I don't really know which interstate to get on to start toward Nashville. And I'll let you in on this. Chicago traffic scares the hell out of me,
Ooh,
just to be
I
honest.
can't imagine.
it's bad. It's like Atlanta and LA, man. It's bad.
You get on that Dan Ryan and you loop around and you do this, and all of a sudden your hands are, it's
I would imagine
crazy.
you've gotten lost up there a few times.
Yes.
George, you drove? You didn't splurge and get a plane ticket?
No, here's what ended up happening. Will Perdue and I ended up going on. I got there on Thursday. We went to a White Sox game. What was hilarious was Will walks in the Titans hotel, and they're all looking around, going, "Who the hell is this cat?"
Yeah.
Because they're big old guys, but Will's 6'11", and they all kind of looked at him like, "Wow, how's the weather up there?" It's pretty cool.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well,
Billy, give us a quick update.
yeah, there's not a ton to get to, but former Vanderbilt pitcher Jack Leiter made his debut with the Rangers today and got roughed up a little bit.
I watched it.
Yeah, he pitched 3 2/3 innings, gave up 8 hits, 7 runs. He did have a few strikeouts, a few walks. But typically those debuts of those guys that are younger and maybe are forced into action because of injuries don't typically go well. But I think, he'll be just fine. I don't know how much longer he'll stay up, but I think he's still got a bright future.
When Danny Evans joins us at 3 o'clock, we're going to get a tutorial on how you handle a young pitcher in that scenario, because he had a perfect first inning, looked like Cy Young in the first inning, and looked like me in the second inning.
Yeah. Well, you'll see some pitching this weekend at Vanderbilt. They've got Florida tonight, tomorrow night, and then Saturday. So their series starting tonight. It got pushed up from 6:30 to 5 because of the inclement weather coming in. So they're going to start at 5 instead of 6:30 tonight. Try to get out of there around 8 or so, which is when it's supposed to be coming in.
Kelly, they consulted my forecast when they made that decision.
There's a lot of people that's consulting your forecasts.
Yeah, sure they are.
Oh, gosh.
NFL draft, crazy. This is a week away. Next week, the NFL draft. Apparently, the Patriots are open for business to trade the number 3 pick in next week's draft, but would be comfortable staying put and selecting a quarterback from what he called a unique class. Wolf, which is Elliot Wolf, the director of scouting for the Patriots, he described trade discussions with other teams as ongoing. He said, "We have some holes we feel like we need to fill in the draft. We're a draft and develop team. The more picks we have, the better." So the Patriots are open to trading.
So given that it's not going to be Mac Jones and they're open to trading, who are they playing at quarterback? Brian Hoyer?
He's been around for a while. Is he still there?
Kelly, he's as old as you are.
Good Christ. He doesn't have gray hair, I'm sure, yet. Well, his is gone, though. I think he's bald.
Yes.
Yes.
In the NBA, Jimmy Butler for the Heat is going to miss several weeks after last night's MCL injury and their loss to Philadelphia. He was hurt on the last play of the first quarter. He stayed in the game, but he scored a total of 12 points the rest of the way. So, I don't know if him staying in the game ended up hurting him. But, so he's done.
Here's
going to miss several. Going to miss several weeks, though, isn't he? And aren't they in another play-in game or Friday night?
Tomorrow night they've got the Bulls in Miami, so he will not be playing.
Speaking of injuries, I watched the game last night. Joel Embiid is nowhere near 100%. Phillies title hopes, there are none.
The Phillies?
If Joel Embiid isn't pretty close to 100%, the rest of that lineup, it's Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and then the 3 of us.
Yeah. I agree.
Although I will say this, last night, Nicholas Batum,
Yeah.
what a stud
He's
in
a
the fourth quarter.
Good player. He went off.
It's the only reason they won.
Yeah, so the Heat did end up losing to the 76ers by 1. The Bulls beat the Hawks last night, 131 to 116. And then later tonight, or tomorrow night actually, Kings and Pelicans will play in New Orleans. So that's what we've got in the NBA. And lastly here, a little college piece. Virginia governor has signed an NIL law that could significantly change the college sports landscape. Glenn Youngkin, who is the Virginia governor, he signed a bill today that could significantly change the landscape. Let's see here. He made it illegal for the NCAA to punish a school for compensating athletes for their NIL rights. So this could be a catalyst for significant changes that the NCAA members have been thus far unwilling to make.
We need a salary cap.
Yes. Need something.
After the break, we'll be joined by Predator defenseman, Notre Dame man, Spencer Stastney. This will be some fun. We'll talk about where this is all headed. First round playoff series with Vancouver. The league will announce dates and times later tonight. I'm going to give you a little scoop about it after we get Spencer out. He'll join us after the break.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
As some of you may already know, we've got some new broadcast plans that are going to take place effective Monday, April 29th. What is now a 2 to 4 p.m. show that you watch will move to 4 to 6 p.m. You'll be able to watch it just as you do now. What will change is that we're simulcasting back to radio on WNSR. There are a couple of signals that we want you to know about. They're FM, the stronger signal, 95.9. Remember to write that one down. The other is up in the Rutherford County area, 107.9. Whichever way you choose to see the show, we just want you to be a part of it. The big reason and the big advantage for doing this is that we want to be able to take phone calls. We have missed talking to you guys and gals and can't wait for April 29th when that starts to happen. Thanks for being with us. Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen printed t-shirts, laser engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hardworking team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Okay, let's take roll on this. Billy, have you ever been to Notre Dame?
I have not.
Are you kidding me after all the genuflecting you've done about them?
I've never been. I need to, though.
What in the world? Kelly, have you ever been to Notre Dame?
Not. My wife has.
Okay.
My wife has. She's been up there, but I have. Yeah, when I was in Indianapolis, she drove up there with her brother because he's a huge Notre Dame fan, but I didn't. I didn't want to go. Whatever.
I've done 2 games up there. My back then Memphis State team got beat by the number 1 team in the country in the Mideast Regionals, Purdue. And in football, my Vanderbilt team got beat 41-0. That said, the game sucked, okay? But the campus is awesome. I would encourage anybody to go up there, which leads us to Notre Dame grad and Preds defenseman Spencer Stastney, who joins us by phone. Spencer, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
What's wrong with these two? They've never been there.
Well, fortunately, I've been enough for all of us. So hopefully they can make it one day, but it's definitely a special place.
So how did you settle on Notre Dame?
It was, I think one thing I really wanted to focus on when looking at a college was good academics, and I think it was a good combination of a good hockey program and a good school, and it was close to home, so kind of hit all the bases there and just fell in love with it.
So here's an important question that the world wants to know. Once you got called up here, how long did it take Notre Dame grad and Preds radio voice Pete Weber to want to have an alumni gathering with you?
I'm not too sure. I guess maybe we're still waiting on it, or I haven't heard anything, but that should be an interesting one.
But he's definitely talked to you about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, we'll get off the Notre Dame in a minute, but what's your best? We're showing a picture right now of Notre Dame Stadium packed. What was your best football memory in your years there?
Freshman year, college game day was there. I think the first game of the season, it was a highly ranked Notre Dame game versus Michigan. And that I think that was a great welcome to college and to Notre Dame in general. Campus was packed from probably Tuesday on, and then people were tailgating at 6 a.m. ready to go. So I think that started my college career pretty hot, and I don't know if I ever had a game that surpassed that moment.
Yeah, we're looking, like I said, at this picture of it. When I actually did, and I want to say it was 96, that I did a Vandy Notre Dame game up there, it was only a 59,000-seat stadium, and to be honest, the press box was a dump. What they have done to that place since then, holy cow, that is a palace.
It's incredible. All the add-ons are super nice, but it also keeps the original identity of the field, or it feels that way for me. So, I think there's a lot of history there, and they're fortunate enough to have a lot of good teams, and they've been building off that original stadium a lot, and I think it looks great.
Spencer, what kind of hockey program have they got? Is it pretty strong?
Yeah, no, it's definitely strong. I think this year was a little disappointing, but they had a young team, and I mean, I know that they're gonna bounce back and get back in the tournament next year, but no, it's been a great program, and it was for a while before I was there too. So a lot of good players going through there, and Jeff Jackson and his coaching staff are all great coaches as well. So that's definitely one thing that sold me on the university.
So tell me a little bit about, since you have come up, the season ticket holder in me says you have helped this team's defense considerably. It's a much better defense than it was at the start of the season. So when you came up here, what did you try to do to help them? Or maybe I ought to be asking, what did the coaches want you doing that has worked so well?
Thank you. No, I think it's a combination of the guys around me also getting more comfortable with the system, because it is new for all of us. But I think one thing they really emphasized for me is moving my feet. And I think for a system that they're trying to run here that really values speed and quick puck play and just going north, I think that really is tailored towards my gameplay. And yeah, I think I don't know if it's me out there, if it's guys realizing I'm a young guy and having to pick up their game for for me out there, but no, I think we have been playing well, and yeah, I think it's just a lot of speed and just making smart, strong plays.
Spencer, the start of the season, 5-10, and most of us wrote it all off by the end of October, mid-November. Really didn't see this coming. This push that happened in February that ultimately has leapfrogged this team into the playoffs. From your perspective, what changed?
I think it's just the players buying into and getting more comfortable with the system. I think, obviously I wasn't there at the start of the year, but I saw at training camp, I think some guys were used to playing a certain way here in Nashville, and new coaching staff came in and changed that up. And I think it took a bit for it to become second nature for a lot of guys, but once that clicked and once the guys started getting going on the systems here that they brought in, I think it's been doing wonders for the team, and I think that's what we're seeing here with us making the playoffs.
So Andrew Brunette was a player here going back to year one. So some of us knew of him. From afar, I think the guy's done a Coach of the Year kind of job, and I'm guessing you all feel the same way.
I think for sure, yeah. For the parts I've been here for and what I've heard from the guys, I think this program, this organization has done quite a bit of change this year, and already we're seeing dividends. So, yeah, no, if I had a vote, I'd be voting for him.
By the way, that's a great answer. If you go that way, you're guaranteed better playing time with that answer.
Yeah.
So tell me this.
Yeah.
People would like to know some particulars here. When you all got back from Pittsburgh, you have Tuesday, you have Wednesday, now we're at Thursday. You all now know for certain it's Vancouver. Has the last couple of days been work on Vancouver? Has it been stay off the ice and get some rest? What have the last couple of days been like?
Yeah, no, I think it was pretty unknown who our opponent was going to be until maybe this morning or last night. So I think it was a lot of just focusing on us, focusing on what we need to do, and trying to prepare on our end for whoever we may play.
So now you know it's Vancouver. Give us a little bit of a scouting report of a team that I kind of wanted the Predators to play. I think it's an easier route than Dallas, but not by a lot.
Yeah, well, Dallas I've played once or twice. I only have about 20 games in this league, so Vancouver I've never actually played. So you might need to check in with me after game one there, but no, I think no matter what team we're playing, it's going to be a high skill, high pace, just a great game. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm sure I'll watch some video here soon and get ready for the team, but we know they have a lot of high end guys, a lot of great players, and that should be a good series.
So, Spencer, when this team came here now 25, 26 years ago, Jerry Helper, who was the media relations director, kept saying to me, until you experience playoff hockey, you have no idea how great this is. And as a guy who grew up football, basketball, baseball, I was like, yeah, whatever. But I have come to learn that it's the coolest thing I've ever seen in sports. How excited are you that you're about to experience this?
I'm extremely excited. I was talking to some people with Predators staff the other day, and they were bringing up stories of their last playoff run, especially the Stanley Cup run. And just to hear the stories of Broadway, just being absolutely packed, warm weather, people from all over the world coming. I just hope we can replicate that this year. But I'm excited, and it should be quite a journey here.
You know what's interesting about that, Spencer? Of course, our downtown was insane during that run. And about a year later, I got the chance to ask Peter Laviolette, who was still the Predators coach at that time, did you get to experience that at all? And he looked at me and he said, I've had this talk with my wife. He said, because I was so focused on the games, I never really had time. But if I ever get in that position again, you better believe I'm going to experience it. And he told me, he said, I feel like I missed something, and I hope you get to experience that because it was incredible.
Yeah, I definitely will try to take it all in.
Listen, thank you for taking the time. Good luck up in Vancouver. Get us a couple of wins, and let's get this town excited because it'll be really cool if it happens.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Predator defenseman Spencer Stastney joining us here on the show. Billy, he didn't want to say it. He's embarrassed that you've never been there.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to believe. My brother has been there, but I was not able to make the trip. So he was the bigger Notre Dame fan, so he got selected to go. So
see, I thought when you're Catholic that's part of that's what to
like a rite of passage.
Well, to be a member of the Catholic
absolutely.
Church, yeah.
Well, it's not like it's the basilica. I mean,
that's part of becoming a man. Instead of going out and killing a lion, you got to go to a game at Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? Fellas, I'm sorry, I could not hear him at all. I don't know what happened.
Well, we'll work on that, but I appreciate your letting me know, and we were able to adjust. I'll tell you one thing. First of all, he can fly.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
His speed is helping them huge.
Who's the other Stastney in the league? Are there a couple?
There's a Stastney, and there apparently is no relationship.
Okay, I thought the Preds had at first traded for that Stastney, but I realized he actually got called up. So
this one can fly, and Kelly, he is making a big difference in their defense. He was too modest to say it, but I know.
Yeah, I wish I could have heard him, man. I really wanted to hear all he had to say and ask him a couple questions, but I literally could not hear him. But I think it's so cool. That's who you wanted to play too, right, George? I mean, you'd rather have Vancouver than Dallas, correct? Or does it matter?
Well, let me say this.
That traveling is going to be tough. That traveling is going to be tough because that's all the way out on the West Coast. So, wow, that's a lot of traveling that the Predators are going to have to do back and forth.
The Predators are 0 of 3 this year against Vancouver. So this comes under the category of be careful what you wish for because it might happen. Now, that said, Dallas, second half of the season has been red hot. They have been on fire. Of course, they clinched the Western Conference 1 seed last night, which meant that Vancouver is the 2, which means that what Billy put out there a couple of days ago at Lipscomb.
But it wasn't official. Neither of ours were official yet.
So, George, what is the is it just a matchup problem? Because when you get into situations and when you get into games like in the NFL, I can remember, you'd have matchups. You'd have your slot receiver on one of their guys that you wanted to kind of pick on. But what is the problem with Nashville going 0-3 this year? Just bad luck, or did they have some matchup issues during the games?
Look, I'm going to dodge it because I'm not enough of a hockey expert, but I will tell you this. A couple of the games were earlier in the season. This is a way better Predators team. And I think what he said is true, that it took a while for this team to buy into Andrew Burnett. Apparently, his system is way different than what Hines was running. And so I don't know that there was pushback necessarily, but you're trying to learn different stuff, and early on it feels like a round peg in a square hole. For instance, I've been told the story, and I don't know how true this is, that at some point Andrew Burnett took Roman Josi, I'm guessing, out on the ice and said, hey, let me show you a couple of little tricks. He apparently maybe felt that there were a couple of little adjustments that Roman Josi needed to make to get his offense going again. And all of a sudden, Roman Josi exploded like that. So this Andrew Burnett, not only a former Preds player, but he's no fool. He's done a hell of a job with this team.
Well, that's huge, though, when you can take the team captain out and show him a little stuff, because I'm sure – I mean, that's what happens when you bring a new coach in. You don't know – you've heard things because everybody talks, just like you've talked about coaches. Everybody in the profession talks, but you hear good things, you hear bad things, but you've got to experience it yourself. And, yeah, that's just that's interesting that he took the team captain out there. And he might – that might be Andrew Burnett too, because as a coach, you got to feel things like that. You got to feel, hey, these guys are not trusting what I'm doing. So how about me take the team guy out there that everybody looks up to and give him a few things, and then when it starts working for him, maybe it starts working for everybody else.
That's what I've been told. We're going to go to the break, and then I'm going to tell you what the big mystery is around when does this series start? When does it move to Nashville? Now, the mystery will ultimately get solved tonight around midnight. We'll know for sure. But behind the scenes, holy cow, has there been some stuff. I'll tell you about it next.
Okay.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank and Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Kelly, you want a little scoop?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so Predator fans have, been playing this game now for a while, kind of like me, where they check the standings every day, and then they make the 8th spot no matter what, and then they're trying to get to 7, and it was hard to tell this week exactly what had to happen for them to get to the 7, which would be Vancouver instead of Dallas. So here's the story behind the scenes. First of all, the NHL has got a messed up system. That's not the word I want to use, but it's the word I'm going to use. I'd like to continue to do this for a while. Messed up system of how they figure out who plays who in the playoffs. I don't think the fans particularly like it. I don't get what idiot got in a room and thought that one out. But it is what it is for now. Now, who put the schedule together at the NHL might have been having a
little drink from grandmother's cabinet, huh?
Well,
Medicine cabinet.
You've got the Preds finishing their season on Monday, but there are games all over the league going on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. So what all the teams want before the playoffs is a little bit of rest. Now, the Predators may get too much.
Yeah.
So this is what I am hearing, is that the Vancouvers and the Vegases and the LA Kings have absolutely hit the ceiling on the NHL about when the playoffs start.
Really?
Because if you look, Billy, there are already a couple of games scheduled in the East on Saturday.
Yeah. I'm going to look that up real quick, actually.
So I'll keep going on that. Vancouver and the Kings and Vegas, I think I'm right, all in their season tonight. So if the NHL were to put one of those teams in a Saturday game,
yeah, that's crazy.
They get no rest. So they have absolutely hit the ceiling on the NHL and said, look, you got to be fair. You put out this messed up schedule, and we're not going to pay for it. Well, that has caused some thought that the Vancouver Preds series will start no earlier than Sunday and may start as late as Monday as the NHL tries to figure out how to, calm these teams down. And so the likelihood is that the Preds will not be home any earlier than next Friday. Again, all this is going to come out tonight around midnight. But some of the behind-the-scenes stuff has been insane. I'm told that the league tried to float out the idea of back-to-back games to try to catch up with the Eastern Conference playoffs. And that meant like a you-know-what in a punch bowl.
Yeah, that's
concept
kind of
that you,
crazy,
well,
George.
sure it is. When you've got this much at stake,
Yeah.
to do that is just simply wrong. And I think my guess is when you see the schedule for the Preds, surely to God they're not stupid enough to go back-to-back days, because you'll hear the howls of protest everywhere.
Well, I mean,
So did the Predators finish Monday? They finished Monday.
They finished Monday night in Pittsburgh.
Wow. So they might not play again till next week.
It could be a full week.
Oh wow.
So there's two different schools of thought. There's one that says, man, can this team use the rest? But there's also the rest versus rust. And
Right.
Kelly, you know that better than I do, even though football is more of a once-a-week deal.
Yeah, but it's a deal too where now, like, I don't know what the best answer is for that, George, because you get teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, or if you win your division early, well, they're sitting their starters the last week of the season. And then you've seen so many times where they do that. And then they get, like, if you're the top seed, then you get another week off. And then they go into the next weekend of playoffs, and they don't play very well. So, but then again, on the other hand, you've seen a totally opposite from where a team comes out and they play the best all year. So I don't know what the answer is, George. I really don't. You look in the locker room and you say to yourself, well, do you think veteran teams can handle it a little better? Which you would think so. But then sometimes you say, well, if it's a young team, they hadn't really been there before. How do they handle it? So I don't know what the answer is with that, because I've seen it both ways. And I don't know if there's an answer that I could put out there that could explain that in some way where people understand. I don't know, and I don't understand it. I don't get why some teams play really good after off, and then some teams can't. They can't handle it. So that is crazy though, George. I've always wondered that. I asked y'all a couple of weeks ago or months ago with Guy about. I don't understand how these teams like the Predators had this many games already, and then the team that they were going against, like they were three games less. I don't. That's scheduling mishaps right there, in my opinion.
So, Billy, to me, the answer on this one is what the NBA did. They closed out their regular season. Everybody played on Sunday, either at noon Nashville time or at 2:30. Now, maybe, I don't know, maybe I've been asleep on this and we're still in COVID. I don't know why. I don't know why the NHL had to do this, where one team ends on a Monday and a bunch of them end on Thursday. I don't get it.
I don't either. And again, I think they need to go back to how many teams make the playoffs, George? In the
16.
Why not just go 1 through 16? You got, well, I guess each side would be separated by 8, right? So you got one conference with 8, the other conference with 8, one plays 8. I mean, I don't know. Well, obviously here it looks like it's going that way with Vancouver and Nashville, but it's really not the way they switch it up.
Well, you keep talking. I'm going to try to figure out, if you went 1 through 16, who the Preds would be playing.
Yeah, I don't. You're right, George. Like, who made this decision to go, let's make it this hard for these teams? Like, for the Preds to have to play a whole week after their last game. I mean, that feels like a scheduling malfunction. And I know maybe it's hard to get everybody to finish on the same day, but, I mean, the Preds are finishing 3, 4, 5 days, separate from a lot of these other teams. So at least make them finish in the span of a couple days to where there's not that dramatic wait time. Or some of these teams might have to play a day or two after their season ends, depending on that. So
here's the other area where I'm going to sound like I'm alibiing before there's any need to alibi. Okay, it's real easy. Let's make up 2 Eastern teams. It's real easy for Pittsburgh and New York from a travel standpoint. They get on a plane, and 40 minutes later, before the beverages get served, they're telling you to put your tray table into the upright position. So, it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And you're at the next place. Well, in the Western Conference, last time I checked, Nashville doesn't feel like it's all that west. So I'm told that Vancouver is like going to Seattle and then 15 to 30 more minutes north to get to Vancouver, which I'm told is a beautiful city. Never been there. But if you end up in the West, and this happened to the Preds several years ago, where their first two series were Anaheim and San Jose, and the league really did not give them an extra day of rest that I thought should have happened. In the East, you know, they'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. In the West, the Nashvilles and the St. Louises, if they're having to go out there, they deserve an extra day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 4-hour flight, if I'm not mistaken, from Nashville to Vancouver. So, you know.
And if you're white-knuckling it like me, it feels like it's 80.
George, how do they explain to me how they do the playoffs? Is it 2 games, 3 games, 2 games, or 1-1-1? How do they do that?
2-2, 1-1-1.
2-2, 1-1-1.
Which makes it even more ridiculous. I think that's
crazy.
It needs to be 2-3-2.
Well, yeah, for travel purposes, it'd be a lot easier.
And again, we're taught this is the extreme case. Nashville to Vancouver, I'm sure both franchises would rather not have to do this, but it's not always this bad with teams, but it can be. I mean, we've seen it occasionally in the NHL.
So here's the talk you will hear from a lot of people. Just get me a win in Vancouver. Come home 1-1. Okay? Am I one of those probably saying it? Of course I am. But I also remember the run to the Stanley Cup final. You know, they go in as an 8 seed, being given no shot by anybody against the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks had caused this franchise a lot of hurt. And when they went into Chicago and won a pair, a first game that was Pecorine stopped about 90 million shots, and they won 1-0. And then they blew out the Blackhawks in game 2, and I'm like, what is going on here? And then they came home, and it was wild. It was absolute bedlam in that building. Did I love it? I did.
Well, that's part of it.
Everybody in Nashville loved it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why it was so? I mean, say it was some team like, I don't know, the Capitals or something, and they beat them in 6, but they swept the Blackhawks in 4 games. Do you think that kind of kick-started it in a way that really fired everybody up, as opposed to maybe a more competitive series against, literally anyone else?
Because the Blackhawks had become the old Red Wings. They'd become the hated franchise, and they were the measuring stick of where the Predators were or where they weren't. By the time they won the second series against St. Louis, the city was starting to take note. The day that they won the second series was my birthday. It's a great present. And I walk in a restaurant over in West Nashville afterwards wearing a Preds jersey. And, I'm thinking I'll be the only one in there doing that. And there were about 5 or 6 people who had been to the game that were wearing them. And I was like, this is starting to catch on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and imagine how much confidence they had, too. After you sweep the Blackhawks, they felt like, no one can beat them. That's the way they felt. And that's kind of what it takes at the beginning of those playoffs, get you some confidence and keep rolling.
It was a cool time, though. That was a cool time because that got me interested. I watched every game.
That was a
cool time in Nashville area.
Yeah. It was hard not to. We had never played hockey in the backyard, had ever thought about it. And we pulled the goals. Our neighbor had a goal, and we were playing hockey. What are we doing? But that's kind of what it did.
If it paid enough, I'd have announced it. Derek scores. Give me my money. Okay. After the break, we'll go stat of the day, which may or may not. Well, one of the advantages to the Sports Speaker Series is we didn't do a stat of the day yesterday.
So I'll tell you, Eli And Jeff probably would have been pretty good too, but Eli,
Yeah.
if it's a football one, Eli probably would.
Eli. He's all over.
You're all just Danielle Breezy, and you have.
There's Danielle.
Oh my!
Hold
Danielle.
on, what's she saying?
Said strong storms later tonight.
Yeah, so my weather
Thanks,
forecast was pretty good.
Is there any way we can get her on, Billy? Can we get her on the broadcast here, you think?
I'll see what I can
Figure,
do.
figure that out, dude. Grow up. Figure it out.
Danny Evans will join us. We'll talk baseball, and as we go to the break, these thoughts. Billy, grow up.
Nashville, get ready for the greatest show on turf. Electrifying, high-octane, non-stop spring football action. Starting at only $30. Don't miss the season opener this April 27th at Municipal Auditorium.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fisher. The Nashville Cats are bringing arena football back to Nashville.
Grab your tickets now at thenashvillecats.com and be part of the action.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Top of the hour on a Thursday. We're talking baseball with Danny Evans coming up. But first, piece of breaking news. And I don't even know if this is news, but Kentucky star freshman Reed Sheppard has declared for the 2024 NBA draft and will forego his college eligibility.
Wow. There were a lot of folks hoping against hope that, you know, being a legacy and all that kind of stuff. But can you blame him?
No. No, you can't, and I think there are a lot of Kentucky people that will accept this and will have to. But so Reed Sheppard going to the NBA. But first, before we get to Danny, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. And all of a sudden, I guess 3 o'clock, top of the hour, is a piece of breaking news. The NHL has approved the Coyotes sale and the relocation to Utah as a new franchise next season.
Oh, hell, they approved it weeks ago.
I thought I did see that a couple weeks ago.
I mean, look,
why is this just now?
I don't know. That they're probably the board of governors got together or whatever.
It's official.
Yeah, but I mean, people have known for weeks that this was
That's
coming.
true.
Now, supposedly Phoenix is being given 5 years to get their you-know-what in gear.
See if they can take a shot at it.
And are being told, if you get your stuff in place and get an arena, we'll give you an expansion franchise.
We'll see.
That's what's out there.
So a couple pieces there. But here we go. Stat of the day. Connor McDavid recently became only the 4th player in NHL history to record 100 assists in a season. Can you name the other 3?
No, wait a minute.
George, sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I said sorry, man. You got this one. I wouldn't even have a clue.
Are we saying points or assists?
Assists.
Hold on. Let's bring Danny in. Let's dump this in his lap, too.
Please.
Danny, how you doing?
I'm good, George. How are you doing?
Good. Is that possible, 100 assists in a year?
Yep. And I think I know all 4 of them.
Okay, lay it on us then.
Well, the guy in the picture was pretty darn good.
Yes.
He's the most fun guy to watch in the game. I can't believe how good he is. Gretzky.
That is correct.
Bobby Orr.
That is correct.
Oh, yeah. The man is on
Mario
fire.
Lemieux.
Boom.
Nice.
Wow.
Boom.
Come on, Kelly.
Are you kidding me?
Let's
Wow.
give him a
That's
little
really good.
applause. Let's give him a little love.
Somebody else had 100 assists with McKinnon this year. With McDavid, was it McKinnon?
Oh, I don't know.
I think there were 2 guys with 100 assists this year.
Was it Kucherov?
Kucherov led the league in scoring. He might have had 100 assists.
Wow.
I don't know. You can tell.
Yeah, I think it was Kucherov, the 5th player in NHL history with 100 assists this season. Yeah.
2 guys, and they both had 100 on the nose. So I'll tell you what, this is a sport that I am so addicted to. I love hockey.
And 25 years ago, I knew nothing. And I remember being told the playoffs, you won't believe. And I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
in my neighborhood, guys, this was the sport. We had 3 guys play pros from our neighborhood. And as a result, I was just addicted. I went to Blackhawk games starting at age, 6. And, I've seen all the great ones play. I saw Gretzky play when he was 16 years old in Indianapolis. And it was remarkable to watch a guy the same age as me playing in the WHA and dominating.
So you went to games in the old Chicago Stadium.
Oh, yes. It was magical. Nothing like it.
And what I'm told, part of what made it magical is that they had an organ that sounded like nobody else's.
Like Madison Square Garden.
Al Melgard at the organ and Wayne Messmer singing. And to be honest with you guys, it is one of the greatest experiences ever. And I got to know Wayne extremely well, and I would sit with him a lot up in the organ loft, and the entire building would shake.
Yeah.
It was really pretty fun.
So I'm going to make a prediction that after I get through with the start of where I'm going, you all will feel like you've been given a baseball tutorial.
Can I just say one thing, George? Kelly and I got that hockey answer together.
Thought Gretzky, but after that, no.
Yeah, Bobby Orr was the most amazing player I've ever seen. It's just a shame he got hurt.
So I'm going to take a guess that, like me, you may have watched Jack Leiter, the former Vandy pitcher's debut today.
I didn't see it, but I knew about it. I've been on calls all day. I know it didn't work out well. It's a great story. I mean, with the start today, Vandy has the most players in the big leagues, which is a great statement for the program. A lot of guys struggle that first time out. It's the mixture of nerves, the unknown, a catcher you don't really feel comfortable with, and all the pressure that comes with it. But Jack's been throwing fantastic in the minor leagues. So I think what we saw today versus the Tigers is not what we're going to see, because he's been one of the best pitchers in the minor leagues for the first 3 weeks of the season.
Okay, here's where I want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
So his first inning, he looked like Cy Young. And I'm watching the Tiger broadcast, and Jason Benetti, who I think is at the top of this profession, I love him. He and Craig Monroe were doing the game. And they're talking a lot about Leiter. He had a perfect 3 up, 3 down. I take it back. 4 up, 3 down first inning. Looked really good. Second inning, he falls apart, gives up 4 runs. Okay, if you're the manager and you've got a kid making his major league debut, and all of a sudden you run into that buzzsaw that he's not used to running into on the minor leagues, how much longer do you let him go as far as confidence building? Talk to me about how a manager should handle a pitcher in that situation.
Yeah, I wish I'd seen it, George. I hate when real life gets in the way of my favorite thing in the world, watching baseball games. But I think here's the problem, and guys have told me this for 40 plus years, and Kelly, you've probably experienced it in football. When it unravels the first few times in the big leagues, you can't find the break. You can't, it's like Fred Flintstone, stopping. You just screeching to a halt any way you can. And some guys can't slow the game down quick enough. And as a result, they don't get through the 4th inning. And that is part of the game itself. Part of the sport is mastering or harnessing, I would say channeling, all the anxiety and panic and bringing it to a slower speed where you can manage it better and accumulate some outs. Tom Seaver used to call it fighting through the outs. And I think, this is a kid who's been through a pressure cooker at Vanderbilt. He's his dad's one of the best pitchers of his era. So as a result, he's a legacy, and he's been through this before. They tend to be better, but a manager, a pitching coach, with all the rules involved today about stoppages of play and speed, sometimes the boat leaves the dock and you can't find the dock again in time. And, I'll look at it, I'll see it later on tonight, but I'm sure it unraveled. And when it unraveled, he just didn't know how to stop it.
Okay, as a general manager, if a young pitcher who has done really well on the minor league level, you bring him up and he does not experience any of that success, when do you pull the plug on it as a GM and say, look, I don't want this guy's career, this to be the defining moment. I want him to go back, get some confidence, and let's try it again 3 months from now. When does a GM do that?
Yeah, my argument, George, has always been, how do you accumulate that confidence without the experience? It's just like taking snaps. It's like, for me, it's playing time in college basketball, in the NBA. You have to experience the moment and find out what it's like and find out how to manage your emotions and, get your brain a little slower. I remember Gretzky telling me once that everybody used to say to him, the game seemed like it was slow to him. And he said, no, I just didn't panic because I kind of knew what was going to happen. And I think in Leiter's case, any good prospect, you really want to err on the side of patience, of instilling confidence in him by your own inaction. One of the worst things that happen to baseball players is looking over their shoulder and wondering, Do they get to play tomorrow? Do they start 4 days from now? And that pressure sometimes gets to the point where it snowballs and really eliminates any chance of success. So what I would do in this situation, I would let it run its course, let him talk to the pitching coach. But tomorrow I would come to him as a GM, as an assistant GM, and say, hey, Jack, you're going to be fine. Your stuff plays up here. You know, everything you did in the first inning, let's start thinking about how we repeat that in subsequent innings and rely more on the scouting report. I think kids come up and they don't know the opposing hitters, so there's no comfort level. So as a result, they get a little bullied, you know, where the hitters start telling them what's not working. And instead of trying to attack their weaknesses, they throw it a little harder and they lose command of their fastball. But George, one thing's for sure, he's not the last one that's going to struggle in the big leagues. No. Everybody does.
So let me try this one on you. When I was in college, Larry Schmittou gave me the unique opportunity to be a part of radio broadcasting on the minor league level, and what an education it was for me. But Danny, one thing I'm convinced of is that the Detroit Tigers who played against Jack Leiter today knew a whole lot more about Leiter and his stuff than they would have in the 80s. Oh, Isn't there a ton more info out there?
Oh, incredible, George. You know, I mean, first of all, we've got technology today that didn't exist 5 years ago. He pitched at the high college level. His scouting department probably scouted the heck out of him. His sequencing is now available at the AAA level. Video is all available. You know, you don't know if there was a scout on him in his last start that just happened to be a member of that club. There's a stunning amount of information at the minor league level that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So, you know, Jack Leiter's debut is different than CC Sabathia's debut, than Scherzer's debut, than David Price's debut.
Right.
And as a result, there's less margin of error. They know the guy, but then again, the guy knows them. I mean, he never faced them before, and he knows technical things about that club. He just wasn't able to execute it as well as he will be in the future. And for the fans, the important thing to know is this. As a pitcher develops in the big leagues, so does his command. So does his feel for his repertoire and how it plays against certain guys. Certainly Leiter didn't face that club in spring training. They're not in the same league. One's in the Cactus League, one's in the Grapefruit League. But I think what you see is kind of a vibe or a feel from hitters that you didn't see 5 to 10 years ago. And as a result, it's not as easy to debut as a starter as it used to be. It used to be that first time through, they would obliterate the hitters. Now it's an affirmation after the first and second guy. Yeah, he's exactly what the report said.
Okay, last thing on this subject. So the Tiger broadcast finds Jack's father, the great Major League veteran pitcher Al Leiter, pitched 19 years in the bigs. And so they show him repeatedly up in a skybox with other members of Jack's family. So speculate for me, the kid goes to Dad and says, Dad, you pitched almost as many years as I am old. Talk to me, help me. What did you see? What advice would you give me? If you were going to guess, what do you think Al Leiter would tell his son?
Well, first of all, it's one of the huge benefits that a legacy player has. if you think about it, George, the pitching coach, the manager, all the front office staff, those are his superiors. Those are his bosses. And I don't care what you do. If you work at a department store, a gas station, a law firm, or a radio station, you've got bosses that you have to please, and you have to do a good job, and you have to find their favor. To have a guy who you trust, who you can let your guard down to, benefits a legacy player so much early in his career, because it goes something like this. Tonight, at some point, they're going to meet up after the game. He's, however it's going to be arranged, and it's going to be, man, that wasn't good. See, if it's the pitching coach, it sounds like criticism. If it's the manager, you're very careful about what you say. You don't want to let him think, that you were ambushed and you couldn't slow the game down. With your father, you can just say, the game got away from me. What did you do in that situation? And I think in this case, Leiter remembers World Series appearances. He remembers taking no-hitters into the 8th inning. He remembers big games over a 2-decade period. And, George, he remembers his big league debut also. And I think when you've got that as a confidant, that's an extraordinary advantage, because it's not just at the ballpark. At the same time, he's got players that he looks up to, I'm sure, in that clubhouse that have befriended him. And those are people at times like this you need to go to, and you need to say, hey, what'd you see today? And what was it like for you? And what did you do to combat this? I remember a young pitcher saying to me once, it was really interesting. He said, do you think that's something I could go to so-and-so about? And I said, well, I encourage you to do that, because doing that, first of all, shows that you're vulnerable and you want the help, but it also shows that you look at this player as a mentor. And many times the older player doesn't want to come off as, hey, I know more than you, and I don't want you to be, uncomfortable coming to me. But they don't have that kind of relationship because they don't have much in common. If he goes to a veteran player, that player is going to come back and say, hey, listen, it's okay. We've all been there, and it's not pretty. It's not always a great debut, but it's what you take from that first outing and build from it that all of us try to evaluate to see whether the player is going to acclimate himself, or is this going to be a spiral that's going to need some correction?
Kelly, I knew it would be a great tutorial for all of us, no matter how Jack did today. And by the way, I will say this. He did not look scared to death. He looked like he felt like he belonged, which I took as an encouraging sign. Anyway, Kelly, what do you got for Danny?
Well, I think that's just in response to that. I think that's having a dad that was there, that's probably, has tutored him along the way, and say, hey, you're going to have some tough starts, and probably your opening day is going to, I don't know how it's going to go. Hopefully it goes great, but there's going to be learning experiences in this league that you're going to have to get used to, and you got to fight through it. And if you can fight through it, hey, the sky's your oyster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're so right. And Kelly, it's not an authority figure. It's a guy you trust. It's a guy that when you were 12 years old in a big little league game, and I think everything, and Kelly, I'd love your perspective on this. Everything's relative. So that big game in Omaha that he pitched, 3 years ago, that he went out and just dominated. Okay.
Yeah.
That had just as much pressure for him that day as this start did today, because he didn't know anything else at that point. And I think we forget that you live from those athletic experiences, but they're never identical. They never replicate, but they're always the anxiety and emotion that you have to learn how to channel. And until you get that under your belt, the whole game is a challenge.
Well, that's what I've told my two kids that play sports. Like, everybody goes through the same emotions. You understand that. We all go through the same emotions. We all get nervous. We all get anxious. But, experience shows you, like the first time having the lead going out on Sunday of the Masters, you've got to experience that. And sometimes people experience it in the wrong ways, and other times people, come through it out on the other end. But it's one of those things that you have to experience and you have to go through. And then the next time you're in that situation, you're like, oh yeah, I remember. This is how I felt. Now this is what I got to do to get through it.
Yeah. And Kelly, I think for too many people, it's just like the game of life. I mean, think about your friends. Just, everybody listening right now, think about your friends that they're struggling for some reason and they won't admit it and they won't reach out to you. And sometimes you have to basically pierce that concrete wall and you've got to go, hey, listen, I know you're hurting. Can I help you? And we all go through that. We all go through periods where we don't want to show that vulnerable side of ourselves. But this is where the really good ones do. And they understand that that is part of your growth, understanding you don't have all the answers. I remember, I was at my first winter meetings and I reached out to one of my mentors, a truly great general manager, a Hall of Famer. And I reached out to him and said, I am so anxious going into these meetings. It's suddenly me and it's my team. What did you do? And he told me later on, I am so glad that you did that because I didn't want to make that phone call to you because then I'm kind of talking down to you. And I think, Kelly, in the athletic environment, so many guys don't like to let on that they're not okay. And you know what? That's a mistake. The mistake is saying, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. When you're not, it's better to go to that guy and just be humble and say, listen, I didn't sleep last night. What should I do before today's start to prepare me? What would your advice be? Nobody is ever going to shun you in that situation. But so many of us, Eleanor Roosevelt had a great line saying, if you only knew how little they really are thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves.
Right.
But we always think that we're going to look soft. We're going to look like we're not prepared. When in fact, that makes us better prepared and less soft by saying, hey, help me out here.
No, you're absolutely right. So is there let's expand on the Leiter deal. Like it gives us some examples of guys that have come in with all these accolades that he's had and have come out and they've done what he did the first day. Are there some guys that, were able to overcome that? And who are some of the guys that they struggle from the first time they got out there with all these accolades and then they never were able to get past that?
Yeah, and you know what? There's both sides. I mean, Kelly, guys have thrown no-hitters in their first start and fizzled out within a year. There's guys who couldn't get it. I mean, Wilson Alvarez is a guy that I traded for. He didn't get an out in the first inning of his first big league game. 6 up, 6 on. And we traded for him a month later. I mean, this, and the guy in his second start, Kelly, talk about full circle, on a full 180. He went from not getting an out in his first start to no hitting the Baltimore Orioles in his second start. And I'm sitting in the stands going, oh my God, 3 weeks ago, he could not get anywhere. 5 weeks ago, he could not get anybody out. And for some reason, 5 weeks later, he dominated. Guys throughout their careers, I'm more a sum of the parts guy, but like I had a first rounder who came out and he was heralded. He was a guy, and I saw in his first outing, it was not going to work out. He just couldn't manage the complexities of anxiety, which you, Kelly, know. Anxiety sometimes is the bigger opponent than the people on the other side of the ball. And it's handling that makes the good ones good and the great ones great. There are guys who came out and had exceptional debuts, but then they sputter in future starts. And the reason they sputter is the inevitability of struggling at the highest level. You know, I saw Ohtani struggle at times, and I've seen lots of guys struggle. And Kelly, the problem with a pitcher, he's not a left fielder. The left fielder might have the ball hit to him 3 times all day. He gets 3 or 4 plate appearances. That little 5-ounce spheroid finds that guy's hand every 25 seconds. And as a result, you can't slow the game down in most cases. It was compared to me once, the brakes going out on a car. And we've all been there. It's not pretty. You're stomping. Where are the hydraulics? Where are they? I think the issue that happens here is he's better prepared for his next start than most guys with his collegiate background, his high school background, and his dad.
Hey, Danny, take Kelly through rushing a kid way too early, David Clyde.
Oh, great example.
Who Kelly won't know who it is, but kind of give him that whole deal.
Yeah, so David Clyde was a first-round pick of the Texas Rangers in the 70s. Kelly, we're talking about some of the most electric stuff in the history of the game. Just stunning. And he was a local guy, a Texas guy. The Rangers jumped him up to the big leagues. They had just moved from Washington a year or two earlier, and they rushed Clyde right from high school right into the big leagues. Very few pitchers have ever been able to make that transition. And here's the reason at the big league level. First of all, your repertoire is not mature enough. So you probably are more reliant on stuff that got high school guys out or collegiate players out. You know, it's a little different getting Lipscomb out Tuesday night than it is the Texas Rangers. It's different calling a game where your secondary pitches, your deeper parts of your repertoire are more important. But Kelly, the biggest thing is fastball command, the ability to hit the glove, which I always tell my students, command is the most important thing on a pitcher. Because with us defending the way we do today and our pitch sequencing, it is imperative that a guy hits the glove. When guys get rushed, ordinarily, their fastball command isn't harnessed yet. And their secondary stuff and pitching to both sides of the plate, arm side, glove side, hasn't fully matured yet. So what you see is a radar gun-oriented young man who isn't quite a pitcher yet. He's more of a thrower. You know, think Nolan Ryan as a young kid. And there's a lot of similarities throughout the years that guys just think they're going to throw the ball, through the backstop, like Ricky in Major League, where he throws the ball literally through the screen. And what was the funny part of that scene? The radar gun's still up, and the guy turns his radar gun as if that's the important part. It's not. The important part is hit the glove. And I think what we see typically, hitters come up and they're able to hold their own. I call it treading water early in their career. Pitchers, because they're just not there yet, they sputter, they struggle. And, Nashville fans have seen that with AAA pitchers that get jumped out of the draft. And all of a sudden, it's like a freshman in college pitching for Vandy on Saturday or Sunday or Tuesday night. And you see it and you go, man, this guy's going to be really good, but he's just not ready to be good right now.
So this is kind of this is kind of a crazy question, but with all the amenities that all these organizations got, and they're billion-dollar businesses, and with mental health the way that it is nowadays, does every club have like a sports psychologist that guys can go talk to, or is it? I don't know, because when I was coming up through the NFL, I mean, that stuff, they weren't talking about brain stuff, they weren't talking about all this stuff, and it would have been cool. I started talking to one at the latter part of my career, but it would have been cool to have had one my whole career to just talk things through, because you're right. You touched on it earlier. Guys are not willing sometimes to go in and say, hey, I didn't sleep last night, or I'm having anxiety attacks. We feel weak doing that. But the teams and the clubs nowadays have that in place for guys like this young Leiter guy. I mean, he doesn't need that, but for guys that are going through stuff.
Well, first of all, I'm a big proponent of mental health, and all the tools to give players a chance to excel on the field. There's a great saying with NAMI, a great mental health organization. It's okay to not be okay.
Right.
The elite organizations, Kelly, yes, they do. They have sports psychologists. They have people to go to, and they go to them early in their career, right out of the draft, where they'll do, testing with what kind of a learner is this person? How is their stress handle? Are they, there's various Myers-Briggs tests to see who is the best matchup to interact and basically critique. Is the guy verbal? Is the guy an audio learner? Is he a visual learner? Is he a written learner? There's all sorts of ways to do that. The good organizations have been doing it. The poor organizations are still in the right lane, and they're not there. The challenge, Kelly, is for the player. The player doesn't get to pick that. That's handed down to him by the organization. So here's something I did when I was an agent. The organizations who don't do a good job of that, I had people on my own who would contact them, who would get a trust with the individual and be their personal sports psychologist to get through the good, the bad, and the ugly. See, for me, I just think the weakness that was perceived 20 years ago, those people were weak, who were critiquing it as weak. They had their own demons, their own problems that they weren't willing to confront. I think the great leaders and the great organizations try to equip their staff, their employees, their players, their performers with opportunities to overcome those mental hurdles. Because if you don't do that, you never really find out if the individual can thrive at the major league level.
So what you're saying is the Colorado Rockies don't have that in place.
Well, if they do, they ought to change. They ought to change personnel, because right now there's probably a long line outside that door. And Kelly, if you have this outer image that everything's okay, people don't even approach you for help.
Right.
They don't come because you have this false arrogance. I once had a great player who was just struggling so badly. And I was walking back to the hotel, and he came up to me, and I drafted him. And he came to me, he said, "Hey, can I walk back with you?" And I said, "Yeah, fine. Let's go." I said, "What's up?" And he said, "I can't manage this right now. I just can't manage it." I said, "Well, let's go. What do you want to talk about?" And he went through a lot of stuff, and I finally said to him, "So are you worried about getting sent down?" And he goes, "That's all that's on my mind right now." I said, "Well, you're not getting sent down. It's never going to happen. Not as long as I'm here. So just know you're going to have to fight through this. And you've got me as an ally, and you've got teammates as an ally. But stop that BS where everything's okay, because it wasn't fooling me. I don't know if it was fooling anybody else. But don't think that's how you manage adversity. The way you manage adversity as an athlete, as a human, is to confront it and seek help."
Yeah, that's some big stuff right there. I wish you were my general manager. So my last question is, in this young season, what young player that nobody knows of do you like at this point? Like there's some guys, I read something where there were 9 guys, but is there something that nobody really knows, a young player that nobody knows about? Like a De La Cruz, somebody like that came onto the scene kind of quick last year. Are you looking at anybody like that this year?
Yeah, I part of me is the fun of guys just surfacing in the big leagues and finding out who they are. I think Oakland's closer is a blast right now. His last name is Miller. He's over 100 miles an hour with every pitch, with a wipeout slider. and you just go, the shame is this kid's not going to get many opportunities because they're horrible. They're one of the 5 worst teams, and they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be, but they're bad. So you won't get to see them a lot, but for the fans, if you see Oakland's up in the 8th inning, flip to the Oakland game, and you're not going to have to worry about a whole lot of problems with the blurring of your streaming signal, because not a lot of people are going to be watching the game. But Miller has electric stuff, and there's other guys. I'm just trying to think who else would come to mind.
You want me to give you one?
Yeah, let's go.
Sal Frelick.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And some guys just figure it out right away. De La Cruz last year, remember the three of us talked about him, but then he went into the Grand Canyon for a while. Mike Trout. I remember Mike Scioscia saying to me, Danny, I don't have the patience to let this guy figure it out up here. We're trying to win. They all go through ruts. Some don't at the beginning, but it catches up. I just think part of the fun of this sport are things like Goldschmidt struggling right now, is Acuna, sorry, George, not homering until I think yesterday.
Yeah.
And when it's in there, they're going to succeed. But the problem is with the young guy, you really don't know. You don't know until they get there. And when they do, those 2 guys high-fiving, we really didn't know. We thought we knew. Now they're 2 core players on the team that I think is the best team in baseball.
Yankees have a guy, Anthony Volpe, is a young guy to watch that could potentially burst onto the scene as well.
And Billy, look at I'm sorry, Mr. Derek. Look at the progression in Volpe from 23 to 24. Why? Because he knows he belongs now. He knows he can play. Now he's swinging it. He's always been a good fielder. Last year, he was just trying to tread water.
And he's not having to hear about Derek Jeter as much.
Well, that's a good point. But for every one of that, there's Judge, who's sitting below 200. And you just go, Judge, J-Rod. Guys, you think they're going to struggle all year? No. It's a matter of time. But when the lights are bright and guys get out to a poor start, it's unlike anything they've ever experienced, because nobody knows who, is 1 for 17 at Gwinnett. Nobody knows. Well, some people know. George might know. Okay. But everybody knows who's struggling on every one of the big league clubs. And that is the problem with today's game for a lot of players. They can't run and hide. Everybody's aware of their pluses and minuses. And it's one of the bad things about our technology today, because it just highlights and basically magnifies failure.
That big old scoreboard in center, you're hitting 190. Yeah. Then you see it up there and you're like, George, damn, everybody sees it.
George, one of my favorite guys, one of my favorite players of all time said to me once, he walked up to home plate and it was like the scoreboard was the brightest scoreboard he'd ever seen. He was hitting 191 and 0 for 4 tonight. And he said, I got out of the box and I looked and I went, oh my God, I knew that. Does it have to be that bright? And he said, I got a base hit. I got to first base. And it was like the brightness on the scoreboard went down for the next guy. And I thought to myself, all right, this guy needs a little help with the sports psychologist, and I gave him a phone number. But this is the reality of the big league game. And George, we laugh about the scoreboard, but for some guys, they see that and they like, how do I block that out? Right. Because that kills me. I can't do that. I can't see that. Eric Gagne said it looked like every 3-1 count as a starter was the biggest 3-1 count on a scoreboard he ever saw, because he had to endure that for 100 pitches.
Yeah. I knew this would be good stuff. Thank you as always.
hey, a great weekend in Nashville with Florida coming in to play Vandy. This will be a really fun experience for baseball fans. If you're a baseball fan, get out to Hawkins and check out. That's two of the better teams in college baseball.
Caglione, I think he's going to pitch on Saturday. So.
Oh, okay.
Danny, thank you.
Enjoy, guys. And George, good luck to your Preds this weekend against the Canuckers.
Appreciate it. We're going to need it.
See you, brother.
See you. So, Danny, what am I saying? Billy.
Yep.
I want you to think about this. Now, you probably had never heard of David Clyde.
I think I have, George, a long time ago. I think I have heard of him before.
This took place when I was like in 8th grade. So I'm paying unbelievable attention. I mean, think about when you graduated from Father Ryan. If one of the baseball players that you graduated with was the starting pitcher on the major league level 6 weeks later, can you imagine that?
I can't.
Now, what ended up happening, the Rangers, who weren't drawing squat when they moved to Dallas, they were horrible. They were looking for revenue, and they put him out there. His first start, like Danny said, nobody was quite ready for him, and he did okay. And so they decided to start him again and get another 35,000 gate. Well, they do that 4 or 5 times, and they ruined his career.
That's
unbelievable
awful, man.
talent.
Those baseball, managers, pitching coaches have a really important job.
Front office
as well.
Front office. Danny, it's all about money. I see you watching. It's all about money. Speaking of which, go.
Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Here's what happened last night. The Warriors lost.
Really?
That was 2 nights. Oh, what we're reviewing is 2 nights.
2 nights.
Ago.
We didn't have a bet of the day yesterday.
They got boat raced in Sacramento.
So that was a playing game. Are they out of it?
They're out.
They're out.
They're out, and now Klay Thompson's future
is in jeopardy.
And I'm a huge Klay Thompson fan.
But we knew this season, the way they were playing and some of the comments they were making,
they weren't going anywhere.
This Warriors dynasty is over.
Yeah. I got the Lakers one right only because Zion got hurt at the end, or the Lakers might have gone down. So we're sitting there at 500. Kelly, we've rebounded from total disaster to some level of respectability. And tonight we intend to go over the 500 mark with this play.
The Cubbies.
Okay, so you say, why? Well, I'll tell you why. There are 2 Major League games on the schedule today. There are no NBA games and a bunch of NHL games that the issue's been decided.
Cheers.
Exactly. Go Cubbies.
Go Cubs.
So
Kelly, is that in Miami?
No, that's at Wrigley.
Okay.
So Kelly, you won't be with us tomorrow.
No, I get to go down and see my mother. They had a COVID outbreak for 2 weeks, so I have been unable to go. So I get to go see her tomorrow.
Billy, we will be at First Horizon Park, our first visit of the season. Sounds manager Rick Sweet will join us. Mark McGee will join us with a lot of Preds info. You're going to hear a lot from Gee, I hope, over the next 2 months. But for sure over the next week, 10 days, he'll be on with us a lot, talking us through this series.
George, with all these 7-game series, how long does this take to get to the Stanley Cup?
It's 2 months. It's a 2-month deal.
It's too long. They need to be 5-game series.
Oh, I loved it. Don't give me that. Do not go there.
I mean,
I will go there. It's too long, George.
I'm with
Kelly.
Get over
it, dude.
2 months is ridiculous.
Kelly, it was.
They're just trying to get more money, is what they're trying to do.
Yes, they are. That you're absolutely right about that, because those For instance, the 2 playoff games that the Preds are guaranteed to play. Okay, let's say they get in 3 home playoff games against Vancouver. That's an extra $6 to $8 million bucks. No matter how you slice it, that's good for ownership.
But just think about all the expenses that they've got to have when they got to rent a plane and they got to go out to Vancouver. They got to feed those guys. They got to put them up in a hotel. They got to get them masseuses. They got to get them jacuzzis. They do all. I mean, just
they gotta go
all
see
that money's gone. That's right.
Will you two be in Vancouver? I may tell Barry that.
Bono is a climate activist, so he might be there.
The only time I'll tell Barry that is after a win.
Yes.
Okay, we're done. We'll see you tomorrow. Dodge whatever is coming tonight. If you're watching live, it could get a little crazy.
See y'all.